look at it then. Like, what is actually going on right now? Because both of us can come up with our own
Yeah, so
theory.
what's going on right now? So we have numbers that say that we have added 953,000 jobs in June. Okay?
Great.
So we lost 3.6 million jobs over the previous 4 months. We gained
Yes.
back 953,000. So we are still short 2.5 million as things are continually opening up. So
And
July,
what kind of job? And what kind of jobs are those?
50% of the jobs are more than 50% are full time, less than 50% are part time. I don't know what kind of jobs these are. I have no
We're not
idea.
talking about we're not talking about a lot of high skilled jobs. We're talking about a
No,
lot of
because most
jobs.
of the high skilled jobs stayed employed.
Sure, but that's what I mean. Those are the most when we're talking about job growth, that's where we're looking at having the most benefit is in the higher paid, higher skilled, long-term contract or full-time employment. So now when we have these numbers that are, you know, 50% part-time or less and then there's other full-time jobs but they're in these small sectors that are close to minimum wage if not maybe up to $20 an hour or something like that and they're people who are only being employed because the people who used to have those jobs are still collecting CERP, right? So there's a huge amount of people who are getting these employments, but it's not because the businesses are doing better. 1 in 5 businesses right now, according to Stats Canada survey, say that if their business does not dramatically increase over the next 6 months, they will be facing mass layoffs
Yeah.
or bankruptcy.
Yeah.
That's a huge number, 20% of businesses. And that's what I'm seeing is people are there. They're hiring because they have to. I have a client who works at a major retail store, major. And I said, man, you guys must be like killing it, right? And he's been there for years. He knows the numbers. I think he's a manager of some sort. And he said, no, he says, we are down.
Yeah.
He said, even though you see a lineup at our front door and everything else, he goes, our sales are actually down, which is yeah, maybe they're hiring because they need to be able to have a new guy at the door checking masks. They need to have like they have all these small little
Sure.
positions,
And that's
but they're
retail.
actually losing they're actually losing money.
For sure, retail. But I mean, look what this thing did. I mean, it didn't only shake up real estate. It shook up retail. It shook up office. It shook up all kinds of things. So, um, like, of course that's gonna get affected, right? Of course that's gonna be the case. So now, what about all of the jobs that are going to come back in the food industry? Are those gonna
How many how many
last? How many
how
people are
many
there?
how many people do you need to serve a restaurant at 50% capacity? You need half the servers.
But you need
You
50%
need
more
half the
than you
kitchen
have
staff.
now.
Sure.
So,
But
but
that's just in the food segment that people are those are only the food establishments that people can't have patio or takeout or
right.
anything else.
So you're gonna get like sectors like food and retail that'll probably decline, and then you've got tech that's booming and hiring like crazy.
Yep.
Um, I would imagine that like manufacturing is gonna take off a lot more locally now too. So we'll get more
Sure.
manufacturing done
We're not
locally.
making up millions of jobs though, Daryl.
For
We're not
sure we
making up
are. Oh,
millions.
for sure we are. With the tech industry in Toronto,
We're not
100%
making
we
up
are.
millions of jobs. When this
And
when this
oil's
all
gonna
is said
come
and done,
back
the net job growth is going to be down for sure.
for a while. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
But
for
again,
sure.
again, it's like, okay, so that will happen regardless. Like that is definitely happening, right? There's no way that
Yep.
that scenario doesn't happen. So if the second wave happens, then
Okay.
so now we have a second wave, and that's gonna happen. If we don't
Okay.
have the second wave of the virus, then we our chances are increased substantially of just fine. Maybe it's not back to where it was. Maybe it's not as good as it was, but there can be really great times on the new train that's going to take off, right? There's always money to be made as things are working their way up again.
Okay. So I agree that there's potential to grow. Um, let's look at what's actually happening today, and that way we can give sort of
So we
people who are listening
have
and watching the actual facts about what's
fine.
going on with the
So we
rental
have
market.
jobs coming back again. We have them inviting people for skilled worker for immigration. We
Okay.
have the Bank of Canada telling everybody that they will hold interest rates at a quarter point for 2 years or more if necessary until
Yeah.
they hit their inflation target of 2%.
Yeah, that's great. I feel bad, eh? The new governor is, coming right in the mix right at this time, right?
Well, I mean,
He
it
seems
can
to be
only
handling
get
it pretty
better
well.
from here, no?
Yeah, it seems to be. Exactly. Coming into that position, you probably want to have, if an excuse if things don't go too well.
This is
So
the
he's definitely
easiest
starting
job
at
in
the
the
bottom.
world now. Easy. We're fixing rates for 2 years, everybody. I'll see you then.
I don't.
What am I going
We
to
don't know
say
what the
now?
forecast is going to be.
What are you going to
Yeah,
say for 2 years?
yeah. So that's a positive note when you
Those
look
are
at it
all
from
great things. They're all
when
great
we
things.
look at it from a policy perspective. But they can't keep on, um,
So, so
keeping interest rates so low, because what's going to happen is eventually, even though inflation is a concern, you are going to be looking at less people wanting to put their money into the Canadian dollar, right? There's going to be less foreign investors coming in when they're looking at it, saying like, what are these returns on the bonds that I'm going to get? So how much money do I really want to be putting in? And the
I
U.S. thankfully the biggest
I don't
reason why
see that. I don't see that. If anything, I think it'll get stronger. There'll be a stronger demand for the Canadian dollar because, again, everybody's printing money like it means nothing right now. Everybody, every single country is printing money like it's going out of style. And like we're all compared to the United States, which is a bloody disaster. A
hmm
disaster. So while they're getting 70,000 cases a day over there, we're going down and making like good choices. Like, for example, which I love, I wish we talked about it before when we were talking about Rowdy. Um, the federal government told the Blue Jays, no, you're not playing your home games in Toronto and traveling back and forth and bringing people, with the virus on other teams in and out of our city. That's huge. The states would never do that. Not one state.
Yeah,
That
no, I,
that's
I
really
agree with you.
standing up to them. It's huge.
I agree with you, but just the reality is, record low interest rates will lead to lower bond rates, which means less interest from foreign investors wanting to put their money into Canadian bonds. Those are just how it
Sure,
works,
but where
right?
like what are their better options?
I'm sure that there's going to be, within Europe and Asia, there's going to be a lot of different options for them. Every country is handling it differently, and I think that the Canadian government is one of the most is taking on some of the biggest debt out of all the G7 countries. So I think that Canadians are in store for a greater shock than some of the other countries as far as what the federal government stimulus is doing. I think that there's going to be more repercussions in Canada than other countries. Again, not something that I'm you know able to really comment on as being
Sure.
100% or not. But at the end of the
No.
day, that's what we're seeing. That's what I'm reading, is that we really have to be careful. We really need to wean people off the CERB.
Oh, for
We got to
sure.
focus everybody to have the wage subsidies at their businesses, get everybody back to work, get people spending money. And if that all works out, then the economy can grow, our GDP can try to reach pre-COVID levels over the next 2 years. And as we grow, that debt will become easier and easier to service, because we're going to have a lot more economic pressure. So,
Well, and so one thing that I didn't put on the list here that I
mm,
think is a huge factor or will be a huge factor, and Ford keeps talking about this, and I see a lot of articles about it,
mhm.
is like fast tracking permits for major infrastructure projects.
Yeah, yeah. They
Fast,
always talk like
I
this, but
they do.
there's no fast tracking
I
of
don't
those.
remember
Like if
anybody talking about this. Who was the last premier?
they've um, they've
Yeah,
always they've always tried to implement different things. Kathleen Wynne was the last one. They're always
right.
trying to implement
Oh,
different housing supply solutions, right? And the Toronto Real Estate Board right now is petitioning for their housing supply increase, which of course is going to help people afford houses, because the more places there are, and they're seeing pressure on prices and everything like that right now. But really, what like the red tape in order to expedite the processes is still there. There's
oh
still
yeah,
the issues. The reason the red tape's there, is still. So they're talking about the yellow belt now, giving more
yeah.
giving
That's
more
yeah.
options for people to be able to build there, right? So, unfortunately, there's really not that much of an increase in time frames that developers are going to have. no matter what the government does. It's just not an option.
Listen, if you can cut a year off, makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I had a client get approached by somebody pretty powerful recently, and a union guy, and said, we should look at. He's got a couple hundred acres in an area that's part of the green belt, and they're talking about future development and all that kind of stuff too. So there's things that people know that other people don't, and there's people who are doing things behind closed doors that
Yeah.
we aren't privy to. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe there will be some stuff that changes.
Lot of talk about that yellow belt and pushing construction and pushing more density around transit areas. It's all. I mean, you would think that they would actually do it though at some point
Yeah.
now. Like this is the perfect opportunity to, you know, take take the book and just completely flip it on its head. It should
Yeah.
be so
The
easy.
issue is just the way that any government's structured, right? Is by the time somebody actually gets any ground and support within, whatever, whether it be city council or parliament or whatever, there's a new election and then new people come in and they're less passionate and they have other, more important things on their agenda, and things like that get fallen to the wayside, unfortunately.
Okay, so now since we never talked about the rents in
Yeah.
Toronto,
Yeah.
and that's our main topic, we should hit that before the show ends.